Hello, you beautiful people, and welcome to the as of yet award-winning That 40k Lunchtime Show, where we analyze the meta, dissect lists, and have grade A banter along the way. If you were here last week, you'll know that we would be hoping to. Well, it would just be me today. It would just be me. But unfortunately, I'm afraid to say I am joined by both Jack and Ed, which is obviously a sad time because that means they're not fighting it out for the title today. But LGT's loss is my game because I've got some wonderful guys who know something about the list you have submitted, which is fantastic news. So, without further ado, let's see how they're doing. Jack, how are you, sir?
I've just been tired since coming back from LGT. I said to Chris before we went live that I sort of got in, and I think at some time around 7 or 8 p.m. sort of just fell asleep. Woke up at 3 a.m. Sort of scrolled my phone for an hour, went back to bed at 4, and then got up at 9. And that's basically been it really for me. Just a bit tired after this LGT. It's called me out a little bit. I'm not normally this tired after a Warhammer tournament.
Yeah,
So
I'm definitely feeling it. So I could quite easily just have napped this morning. I was like, no, do the stuff. So I've been preparing for today. But yeah, it's weirdly draining. How about you, Ed? How are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm tired. I've played 10 games of Warhammer in the last 4 days, so
Because you had the invitation as well, right?
yeah, the invitational and a couple of practice games. So I'm very tired. But, yeah, I'm unfortunately I'm not there fighting out, but yeah, it's the LGT curse. Jack had a worse one than me because of his pairings, but we both are staying on form with our little cheeky LGT runs.
Absolutely. We'll dive into that shortly. But yeah, as you could probably tell, we are full of energy and it's going to be a humdinger of
Yeah.
a show. Oh, yeah, let's go. So, as always, pipe up in the chat, say hello. Obviously, I imagine a lot of people might be choosing to watch other YouTube channels at the moment. But thankfully, it's
no,
lunch break, right? So,
it's not live at the minute,
it's not
Chris.
live, so we've
We've
dived
not
in
got
at
any
the perfect.
competition. We've got an hour. We've got an
We're
hour.
competing against the War Games live backing music, and that is it. Dom in the chat, afternoon all, how shattered is everyone? Yes, shattered, that is the word. Hey Craig, has anyone else's insides been decimated by food trucks and Weatherspoons food and drink? Well, I tell you what, Thursday night, my partner's brother came down and we got a kebab. And then on Friday, we went to a different place and got a kebab. And then on Saturday, we went to a Turkish restaurant and had a kebab. So yeah, my insides aren't really great right now, and apparently I never sleep at tournaments anymore. So I've heard some rumours of the food trucks, but we'll get on to LGT kind of analysis on that shortly. And then Anders there tuned in to see how badly you slate my demons list. I haven't put a demons list on the slides today, and so therefore there's probably not going to be much slating of that one. I don't remember a demons list. Just holding me back live here. We've got a Tau list today. We've got a Space Wolf list today. Oh, you changed it. Okay, well, I'll read that one out for Jack to give you some thoughts on later. Okay, and can't let down our members. Right, anyway, enough of the chit chat. Let's dive into the. I'm not very good at my job, so that is the main issue there. And
You should make a dynamic scene.
yeah, as you can now see, I am skillfully sliding straight into. No, that's the wrong PowerPoint. Straight into episode 4, play live. So, has that appeared full screen? Please say
Yes,
yes.
it has.
Yes.
Looks like it.
Crowd goes wild. Excellent. Right. So, my laptop's just being a bit slow at the moment. Come on. There we go. So in today's show, we are going to talk about the LGT. Of course, we're going to be talking about our experiences, just the news of it. We're then going to be looking at the top armies and how they got on. We've got our classic Who Am I? And then, as always, we've got some lists to dive into as well. So the news. Well, firstly, let's just get the smallest thing out of the way. Drakari, the book's on the way. That's exciting for all the Drakari players out there. I feel like half our team personally play Drakari, so that's quite good news. But yeah, that'll be on the way, and that'll be the final codex. And then what comes after that? Who knows? It's a very exciting time, though. But of course, the main topic of conversation is the LGT. It was officially the largest ever tournament in the history of Warhammer 40k. I believe 1092, maybe. So I guess I'll start with, how did we find, games aside, how did we find the overall experience of playing at the world's largest ever Warhammer tournament? Let's start with you, Ed. What did you think of the tournament as a whole?
It was large. It was certainly large. So it was, it's one of those things, right? When you get to an event that scale, because I went to LVO,
Yeah.
was it this year or last year? I can't remember which one. Yeah, it was this year. And obviously, when you get to that scale, you're obviously playing. You obviously got a lot of different people traveling all around the world who come to this event. So you're going to see a lot of faces that you don't normally get to see, which is obviously fantastic. That adds to the experience as well. You get people that you'd normally only see at like WTC here because it's one of the international events. And you get some guys coming over, and that's obviously awesome. It was very packed. Is the only thing I'll say. It was very packed. There wasn't much space from the tables. The mats were touching. Now that's
they were
obviously
touching tips. Yeah.
they were touching tips. It was a bit too close for comfort. I could taste my next door neighbor on stage. It was awful. But but apart from that, it was well run and that sort of thing. But the only other thing I'll say is the maps were just dumb. Just dumb, man. Like I like UKTC events in general. They're like bread and butter, aren't they? They're like, oh, I'm gonna have beans on toast today, solid. But the issue I had with the boards was that there's like, obviously we've all played on them now. We've all got the familiar. We all know where those silly little lines are, and I think the feedback this year will be that needs to change desperately. Like that's those boards can't continue to exist in the way that they do, and have like a balanced approach to the game in terms of combat pressure and shooting. Because obviously we've seen a lot of shooting lists like the Raven Guard list and all that sort of thing do exceptionally well. So obviously, I'm not saying combat doesn't work at all. Obviously, you're going to see some lists do quite well. Obviously, the pairing and the matchups aside, you're going to get some pairings that are going to do well for you as well. But on the bright side, there was a very balanced, like top, like all undefeateds were quite balanced as a general whole, which is good. So yeah, that's kind of my takeaways so far. But yeah, the event itself was solid. The Games Workshop was there as well, which is exciting. I like that. That was fun. And yeah, I think overall the event was great. I think there's just a few things that, like, I obviously I think it was too packed in my opinion, but there was a lot of people, so that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely, all fair. Jack?
Yeah, I think I echo a lot of what Ed says. I think once you get to an event of this scale, it gives you a great opportunity to just speak and see lots of people you don't normally get to see. And I think that's the really cool part about LGT, right? Is it just brings all of these people together from all different parts of the world for one big Warhammer event. Likewise, I have a lot of the same issues with. I think it was slightly too packed. I mean, it is a little funny anecdote, but my round one, I turned up to my table and went to go start setting the board up, and my board was only 48 inches long, and the rest of it was tucked under the next mat. And I looked at the row and I'm like, well, there's not anywhere to nudge all these mats down at all. So so I got the judge over, and they sort of looked at it and were like, yeah, we're not really sure what to do with this. We'll be back in a few minutes, but they got us a new table in the end, which was then missing some of the terrain because everyone else on the row had nicked some of our table's terrain by the time we got to it. So other than that, it went pretty smoothly for me, really. And they did get it sorted out in a fairly timely fashion. I wasn't starting way into the start of the round, and ultimately, if you've got venue staff helping you set up, then mistakes happen, right? It's about how you rectify them. Exactly. But yeah, I I think it's a bit of a cursed event for me, but I'm sure we'll talk about that in a moment. But I still love the atmosphere it brings every year.
I think it's a nice end of season finale. I think it's really nice to go and as you say, like you're walking around and you're seeing like all the faces of people you know or have played against over the course of the year, and there's something about just taking part in that event, which is like it's a great opportunity to be able to do. There are always going to be pros and cons to such a size event. I mean, like it felt a bit like for me going on a night out and going to a giant club with a group of people and you just losing each other like immediately. Like I quite often just like, you finish the game, you try and find people, but we're all spread out. I mean, I spent like the entirety of Sunday lunch on my own, just queuing for food, which is probably another thing to mention. What they said, they had like 10 food trucks and stuff. But I mean, as someone who uses the most of my time, I brought lunch for the Saturday. I didn't have lunch for the Sunday, so I had to queue up and get that. And yeah, I was 45 minutes in a queue. And that's not really how I want to spend my lunchtime. And it just felt like I think you still need more food trucks. I think you still need more stuff. Or I guess in the future, but the thing is, the food looks great, so you want to eat it, but that does include a 30 to 45 minute wait, whereas you can obviously go elsewhere or bring your own and that sort of thing. I managed to time the toilets quite well. Toilets notoriously can be a bit disgusting, but I obviously had a lot more portaloos outside and stuff, so that was good thinking. But yeah, pros and cons to such a large event, but is what it is. So in terms of performances then, let's start at the bottom, which was me. So, I mean, I will be doing a full deep dive, I Am the Hammer, all about it. So, I played Death Guard round 1, had a lovely game against Joe, got that win, and then played against Martin on Orcs, and that was quite terrifying for my army, which doesn't really kill much as these battle wagons just launched into the middle of the board. And that was a really, really close game going first. He kind of was able to just like put stuff out there. Yeah, I lost by 6, but there were just a couple of swing moments, like one where I left a beast boss on 1 wound. That was a 9-point swing. I failed to kill 1 boy out of a 20. That was a 10-point swing. So it's like those sorts of things. Is what it is. Third game I played against Chris with CSM, went first on Hidden Supplies. That felt really rough. I feel like I played absolutely out of my skin, and managed to just squeak it at the end. Sunday morning I was playing Orcs again, and I felt quite comfortable about that until he dropped and I got repaired into Chaos Knights. The lovely Steve who runs Darkfire Cafe, and I had to go first on that, and I was like, this doesn't feel like a great matchup. Managed to keep it really, really close. It went all the way down to turn 5, and on reflection, if I'd done something slightly differently, I would have probably won or drawn the game. But I just made a mistake. I didn't do my maths properly, didn't calculate things properly. And we were rushing for time because we'd started late. And then final game, when I'm 2-2, I drew Mr. Mitch Beard of Sister at Podcast Fame. I know, like Iceland WTC player. I'm like, oh, this is fair. And having felt like I played well for 4 games, I then did not play well. I did things like forgetting that an immolator has multi-melters and rapid ingressing in front of it, and that sort of thing. So that did not go as well, and I lost by like 20 in that game. But yeah, it was a really fun time. I really enjoyed my Banishers list. It was a lot of fun to play, but it is very draining, and if you go wrong and don't get it quite right, you do get slammed. So more of a teams list than a singles list, I think. That was me. So that's a 2-3. And then we go next. Hey, Jack, how was your LGT?
I had a pretty standard LGT for me. Really. It's it has become a bit of a meme at this point. As you can probably tell from Ed immediately laughing about it, is that I can do really well for an entire year at events, and then I'll come to LGT and everything will fall apart. And this year, I tried my hardest not to overthink the game, not to try and be too smart. I was like, I'm just going to take Chaos Knights. I played loads of Chaos Knights for WTC. I think I did pretty well at WTC with them.
You did.
So I was like, right, we're going to take these to LGT. Can't possibly go wrong. And round one, got off to a good start, right? Played Terraform, I played against Orcs. I played this matchup literally the day of list submission as a practice game. And I learned that I can shove my Tyrant into midboard turn one, shoot the battle wagon to try and kill it, because ultimately I don't care if I lose the Tyrant for the rest of the game. And that's pretty much what happened. I shoved the Tyrant up. My opponent tried to respond to it. I picked up some stuff in response. He then has to war the following turn to kill it, to kill the War Dogs and the Tyrant. And then I still have a couple Gatling despoilers, which then go around picking up all the Orc units. And that was a good round one. I was a little bit stressed at one point because Gaz did nearly kill a despoiler if I hadn't quite killed the last Orc boy I was in combat with to get him out of engagement range with my shooting. But it's fine. We got through. And I think maybe looking back on it, I still could have won that game even if he hadn't, even if I hadn't got myself out of that combat. So, and then we get to round two. Now, round two is a mission we all know called Purge the Foe. And historically, this is a mission that I'm not very good at playing, apparently. And I believe it's, I think for the last year and a half of events of I think I've got like 26 losses on my Tabletop Battles app. 75% of those are Purge the Foe. So this is a uniquely problematic mission for me. But this year, I was convinced there's no possible way I could lose on Purge.
Nice, right?
Knights, right? Yeah, I've already got like 9 units. There's no way I could lose on Purge this year. And anyway, I open up my phone to look at the pairings, and I look at it, and what do we have? Oh, Imperial Knights. Well, that's not an ideal Purge the Foe pairing, but maybe it's like a normal Imperial Knights list with like a couple of big ones and a bunch of Armigers. And I look at the list, and it's Canis, a Lancer, an Atropos, and a Castellan. And there's one unique thing about all 4 of those knights is that they're really good at killing other knights. So I'm like, all right, well this isn't great, but maybe we can make it work. And I get to the table, and I'm not super familiar with the new Imperial Knights detachments. So obviously I asked my opponent what his detachment does, and he's like, I get the extra oaths and stuff. I'm like, cool, yep, fine. He's like, and the other thing is I've got a strat where I'm +1 to hit and wound versus walkers. And at that point I was like, well, great, I see where this is going. I feel like I'm being set up here. But and I think I honestly played the first 2 turns really, really well. Like I got a couple of hold mores. I denied my opponent a kill on the second turn, so he couldn't get a kill more. And I was like, okay, this is going really well. I made him commit his big knights first, so I got to have the first shooting activation into the big knights. Killed Canis, and I was like, okay, it's the start. And then my opponent has his next turn, and I've given his Lancer a really long advance and charge to get into a despoiler, because ultimately a potentially 22-inch moving Lancer is very hard to screen out when you've got 8 models. So you kind of have to accept that it's going to potentially end up somewhere. But we get to my opponent's shooting phase, and he shoots his Castellan at my Tyrant. I rotate, he does his +1 to hit, +1 to wound. And his Volcano Lance gets 3 shots, 3 hits, 3 wounds, 3 failed saves, and does 32 damage with the first gun of his shooting phase. And I'm like, oh, I think I can see where this turn's going. And then that means his Atropos gets to do some damage to a despoiler, which is annoying, but not the end of the world. I'm like, as long as my opponent, after rolling a 5-inch advance, does not make this 9-inch charge with his Lancer, which he then makes, and pops his sustained hits 2 and gets like 10 wounds and it dies. At which point I go, oh, I've got 2 War Dogs and a despoiler on like 15 wounds left versus 3 big knights. I think this game is over. And funnily enough, it was. So yeah, I don't think it was a big loss in the end, but it wasn't the best game ever for me. But it's fine. We'll move on to round 3. I played Grey Knights on Hidden Supplies. I basically just planted a Tyrant with the no Deep Stroke aura on my expansion objective, and then just fed one unit onto his expansion every turn, and went, "There's nothing you can really do to stop this unless you all in me at some point." And then he all ins me and kills a bunch of the War Dogs, and I go, "Cool, I have all my big knights left." Which then immediately hose down the horde of 2 wound Space Marine bodies and the Dread Knights. And that game kind of ends up as a pretty big win in the end, especially because my opponent was forced to go first as well, which sucks especially bad for him on this mission. But yeah, that was a good round. And then round 4, I played Tunnel Nids with like Hive Guard, a couple of Rupture Tyrannofexes. And again, it's just another game where the Tyrant sort of goes and sits on my expansion, and I just feed stuff onto my opponent's expansion. And he turn 2, I think he recognizes that I'm just going to keep doing this. So he pokes out a Tyrannofex, gives me some Raveners. I think it was 2 units of Raveners that I could shoot at, 2 units of Gargoyles, some Hormagaunts, some other stuff. But I'm playing Chaos Knights on UKTC boards, which is a really unfair army a lot of the time. So obviously I kill all of that in one turn with some perfectly reasonable rolling. And by that I mean my Tyrant high roll and one-shot is Tyrannofex, which they definitely don't do on average. But yeah, that was another solid win. Then we get to game 5, and I play Orcs again on Search and Destroy and Take and Hold. And I'm like, cool, okay. It's a little bit trickier than before because the Gaz Boys unit has a really good place to stage in the middle. So I'm like, all right, I'll send my Tyrant up to the very corner of the map turn 1, and I'll get some shots across because my opponent deployed, sticking a few things out of the ruin. And I get to shoot the Gaz unit, and he pops -1 to wound, and I think I killed 4 Orc Boys with a Tyrant with sustain 3 blast weapons, all of which are damage like 3+, and I'm like, okay, well, happens, sure. Next turn, because I've killed a bit of his chaff at this point, and I'll predate this by saying that despite this extra damage I'm getting, I did not play turn 1 and 2 particularly well. I made it very easy for my opponent to deny my expansion in this game. I let him deny me on another objective, and effectively probably cost myself 10 to 15 points of primary potentially, which will be important later. And turn 2, I move the Tyrant further into the corner, and I get some more shots at Gaz's unit. And again, I think I only killed like another 3 through the -1 to wound. So it's not going well on the killing Gaz's unit front. But the sooner I can start working down that unit, the better, because it's not a lot in my army that can actually kill it in one activation. And I'm expecting the War turn now. Like, he's run out of chaff to play the game with. He's just going to have to go for it. And he goes for it, and he picks up basically everything I've got in mid-board and leaves me with a War Dog, the 2 Despoilers, and a Beast of Nurgle, which doesn't seem like a lot, but 2 Gatling Despoilers do quite a lot of work in this matchup, and they pick up the Orc army very quickly. And it starts off all right. You know, I clear out the Breaker Boys that are in combat with one of my Despoilers. I clear off the middle objective. I ignore Gaz's unit for a turn and go, cool, you can have that objective for 1 turn. Fine, I can't do anything about that. And then it's the turn after that where things go a little bit pear-shaped, where I start trying to interact with Gaz's unit. And it just refuses to die. And by it, I mean Makari. I'm not entirely sure how many 2-up invuns Makari made in the end before he died, but it's not a number that I was very happy about. I don't remember, my opponent was a lovely guy, but man, I think that at some point I was like, I think I'm going to cry if Makari makes any more 2-up invuns, because every time he does, he's getting 5 more primary, and I'm getting, you know, further and further behind because he's got end of game scoring and I don't. So I'm getting more and more desperate, taking more and more risks, and we nearly make it work. We finally kill them on turn 5, but it's too late at this point. My opponent needs to effectively just have an objective at the end of the game, and he's likely to win. So that kind of, I felt like I was mostly in control, but it was a couple of poor play, a bit of poor play on turn 1 and 2 meant that when my opponent got a bit lucky in the mid game, it allowed it to cascade into a pretty big loss for me. So I say big loss, into a loss for me, which was a bit disappointing. But I guess it again, feels into a meme that somehow I go 3-2 at LGT every year. So I'm happy to provide the entertainment for everyone.
Yeah, why not? You got to give us all something to hold on to. So 3-2, and then let's move up slightly higher in the world. Ed, you
Hi.
took your Eldari. You've
Yes.
got a lot of reps with them. You spent a lot of time thinking about what you're going to take, and you settled on Eldari. So obviously you did the invitational on Friday. You got to play on stream, didn't you? And then you had your event. So how was that for you?
I got butchered in the invitational. It was awful. So effectively, I started off with playing against 12 Wraiths, 3 DAs, Silent King, Star Shatter, the usual things. And I was just like, wait, I watched first turn. I was like, if I don't send and kill a Wraith unit, then I'm just going to lose because it'll poke out a Wraith unit on 2 objectives, terraform the other one. Then suddenly I have to do three actions in the middle and kill the Wraiths. So like either way, I have to do something about the Wraiths. And if I go first, he can't screen out where I land, so I can do that, right? Fine. So I do the thing. I was like, I have to take the risk with the fly over mauls as well. It's fine. So he land there. He doesn't roll the 4 up to do the fly over mauls, so he rolls a 1. So he just sits there, gets shot. I'm like, brilliant, excellent start, fantastic. Like it shoots, gives the Fire Dragon sustained lethal 5s. They fire, roll a melter, jubilant, fantastic. And I already killed 4 with the shooting, I already killed 4. I already killed 2 with the shooting. I was like, fantastic. So I have to kill 4 Wraiths with Fire Dragons. I think I handed him 12 saves, sustained lethal 5s, and 3s to wound. And I was like, fantastic. Passes 6 of them. I'm like, fantastic. That means I'm doing D6 plus 3. I'm to kill 4 Wraiths. The Crypto Thralls are dead. Fantastic. I roll 3 1s on damage, and he bounces Fill in the Pains on 2 per on like 1. I'm like, well, I'm probably gonna lose now. And then, but I tagged everything up, and then his activation back. Now I know Eldar are squishy. Now I'm aware Eldar are squishy. Now if anyone wants to have a good laugh at watching me absolutely fail saves, then go and watch the stream game for the first round of the Invitational. And I just died. He was like handed me 7 saves on on a full squad of Wolf Spiders. Failed 6, they died. Cool, no worries, that's fine. They're all AP dash, just thrip saves. And then that just happened. Then that's continued to happen throughout the game. I was tabled by turn 4 and lost by 9. I was like, I'll take it. That's the best I could probably do in the situation I was given. That's fine. But if I kill the Wraith Brick turn 1, then I'm in a much better position, and they don't do as much, and then we're fine.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that is not how that went. Then the second one I played against Matt Bell's Vault on Purge. Oh, by the way, at this stage, guys, I truly despise Necrons. I just despise them. Genuinely despise them. But that's basically where we're at. The Vault. I played the Vault on Purge. I played against the Vault, just lost because I'm playing the Eldar. I played Eldar. I have to overcommit to kill the Vault, and then I die back, and then he just gets loads of points anyway because he gets killed more every turn. Then I was like, cool. I was like, I'll play the last round. It's an invitational, right? I won't drop. Play the last round. It's Marco and Space Wolves. But a tight game for a while, but then I had this one turn where I killed like a bunch of stuff. I was like, yay, I should win now. That's fine. So I won that game. So actually, I went 1-2 in the invitational because I hit Necrons twice. My worst matchup. Fantastic. Yeah. But yeah, that was the invitational. Then I was just like, well, that was a pretty bad start to the weekend. Like, I've got to turn up tomorrow and not, and I have my head on straight again. So I drank 12 beers and then woke up the next day and I was fine. And I woke up the next day and I was fine. Then I went and played round 1. Round 1 was interesting. So it was with Custodes. I basically managed to just literally entirely wrap a unit of Custodes on the left expansion objective and then shoot the other one. So I shoot the other 2, so killed the other 2. James R charged and randomly killed 5 guard and just left Draxus alive, slightly with her squad. I was like, awesome. That's average. That's fine. And then that was round 1. Round 2. What was round 2? I played against was it Dark Angels then? I think it was Dark Angels. Basically, I played Dark Angels before I played the Death Watch, which is the game which will harrow me till the end of days. I played against the Space Wolves first. Then I played against the. Just getting it up. Here we go.
You had CSM game 4.
Yeah, CSM game 4. I played Custodes first. Then I played Space Wolves. I played against the guy that I played in the Invitational. Same guy, Mark Owen. Shout out if you're watching that. He was a good sport. So I managed to take the win there. Then I played against Dark Angels, played against Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, Michael Boyle, who's fun, and I managed to get the win there. He said he walked to the table and played this match much. I was like, yeah, I played a fair amount actually. Space Marines and Terminators. It's fine. I nice to kill them. It's okay. So I managed to get the win on the Dark Angels. The CSN game round 4, I should have lost. To be fair,
you did say you were like, oh well, I've lost this game.
Yeah, I should have lost. Like I should have lost, and I was like, fair enough. Like it's a tough one. Like there was an angle I missed on some Fire Dragons with a Venom Crawler, but then I got a little bit lucky with the Wave Serpent surviving. I was okay, fine. Then I sent Vashdor. No, Vashdor. I sent my Fire Dragons to kill Vashdor. He lived with sustained lethal 5s up, still lived. I was like, awesome. This is the sort of day I'm having. Brilliant. And then so we didn't kill Vashdor. And then we went on. Then we killed a fair other stuff. And then after that, I was like, well, they moved forward, made some charges. I was like, fine. You failed this charge with the Legionnaires. Roll a charge with the cultists. Then roll a 3. He couldn't re-roll, and he got in, but he could only get one big guy in. And the way it was set up, I could basically like base with Janezar. No one else could base, and the rest could just go behind Janezar. So the entire unit could attack, but only one big guy could attack me back.
Right.
So it's like I'll kill half the unit, and then he attacks, kills like 1 or 2 banshees or something like that. And then in my turn, I was like, cool, I'll fall back. And then at that point, it gave me a game, because at that point I lifted the accursed brick, to the students of Noise Marines, a Predator, both the Rhinos, basically both the Rhinos and both the units of Noise Marines were tagged.
Right.
Like both Rhinos got popped. Then the students of Noise Marines came out, and they were both tagged. And then it came down to it was very close after all this. But if he makes the 3-inch, if that 3-inch charge is probably like a 5, I think he just wins. I'm like, yeah, fair. I can't do much about that. That's fine. So I managed to win by a smidge. And that was fun. And then on to round 5, which is the Death Watch. So first of all, I haven't played Death Watch before, so I disrespected a lot of that damage, which is something that you should not do against Death Watch, which is something I learned very quickly. So I mean, I at the end of the game, I lost. At the end of the game, I lost from an 11-inch charge. But there were many things that sort of led to that 11-inch charge winning the game that I could have probably prevented.
Yep.
But like, so the first thing was he had an infiltrating unit of Spectrus, and I was like, okay, they've got like 10 bolt guns, fine, whatever, and a couple of house fugels, that's fine. And he could get a line on the Banshee squad, because of the infiltrating scout. I was like, oh yeah, sure, that's fine. I was like, that's okay. You're not going to kill the entire Banshee squad. In fact, if Janezar lives and I kill that unit, that's fine. And Janezar can sit down as a fight first piece and chill, and that's a decent trade for me. And she's still heroic to the squad when she comes in. And then it went so wrong. Because that squad killed Janezar and her banshees. Just randomly. No grenade, just randomly killed all of them. And I was like, oh
no.
That felt unlikely. And he was like, yeah, it's pretty unlikely. And I was like, fair enough. Cool. That's tough. That might be pretty damning, but we'll see how we can get on. Then he used like, probably about 700 or 800 points just tagging Lycus for, 3 turns. And I was like, that's fine. I'm just killing your stuff and I'm holding primary and all that sort of good stuff. That's okay. And at the end of the game, he shot a bit, let me reactive move, shot again. And I was just like, well, now I'm probably not going to give you a range of a charge. He should have just charged me and then just tagged me and then it was game over. But now he's not charged me. And he rolls the 11. And I was like, oh. See, if I lived, I can deny primary. I can get some cards. Kill both the pieces on his expansion. And at that point, I'm like, cool, that's mine. That's mine. Nothing about that. That's mine. And then the fire dragons can come out, grenade and shoot the Terminators, and if I kill like 3 of them, that's also fine as well. Because there's only 4 of them left. I was like, that's fine. And I was like, okay, this is still winnable. Then he rolled the 11 and it was game. And I was like, I was just like, oh my god, the curse continues. I've lost. I've not lost LGT, but like I've not gone 5-0 at LGT again from an 11-inch charge. What is this?
Yeah.
And I was not very happy. I was just like, oh god. Said, nice one, dude. Congrats, dude. Like we can talk it out now. You've got the 11, whatever. And we talked it out. And he's, oh, sorry, man. That is bullshit. Like I should never re-roll an 11-inch charge. I was just like, whatever, man, it's fine.
Nice.
I was like, it's a story I could tell forever, and it's the curse that continues to go. But I'm not going to put it down purely to the 11-inch charge, but it definitely ended it, as it were.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my run overall 4-1. Came 69th though.
And that's your shirt number, and that's
that is my shirt number.
That's the only reason that's an interesting number. So that's
exactly
good.
That's the only reason why. That's the only reason why.
So yeah, there we go. In terms of other LGT stuff, tomorrow evening show will be all about the results, because obviously at the moment we're awaiting some semi-finals and finals. So what we're going to do is, just because for technological ease, it's easy if I do the PowerPoint first. We're going to go through the PowerPoint stuff. Then we will talk about LGT placings or current situation and the meta at LGT and that sort of thing at the end. Okay. And by the way, if you're hoping this show is going to be an hour, then you are sorely mistaken. Never change that. So now it's time to play our not yet award-winning Who Am I game. So it is incredibly close. The lead is yo-yoing back and forth at the moment. As it is there's only 1 point in it, and we've got an interesting one today. I don't know how these clues are going to go.
I need a piece of paper.
This is going to go one of two ways. You're all going to get it straight away, or you're not going to get it until the end. I feel, but what I am discovering is, whenever I think of characters, actually, I think I'm just going to end up having to be like, oh, here's another Horus Heresy character. That kind of feels how it's going to go, but we'll see. So, clue number 1. Remember to play along at home, but do not write your answers in the chat until the end. Right, clue number 1. This character was born in the Zornian system. This character was born in the Zornian system. Cool, you got one?
I've got a guess.
Jack?
I'm just going to type something.
Cool. Right, clue 2. The first mention in Terran records of this character is in 932.m41. The first mention in Terran records of this character is in 932.m41.
I still go with the same one because that still makes sense.
Absolutely. So, I mean, Ed, you've got a good track record in this game of just randomly guessing it right. So
I am 100% guessing. That's what I'm going with.
Jack, you got one?
Yeah, I've got
cool. Number 3. This character's greatest gift was a bolter bullet in their head. This character's greatest gift was a bolter bullet in their head. You guys got one?
Yeah.
Yep.
Clue 4. This character has 4 words in his full name.
Okay. I'm going to stick with the last one.
Have we got one?
I'm going to stick with the same now. I think I might have it. But...
And finally, this one is dear to Jack, I imagine. The lucky stick is wielded by this character's mascot.
Okay, yeah, we got it.
Do we have a name?
I do. Yes. I think it's Gazgul.
Do you think it's Gazgul? You are absolutely correct. It is Gaz. Good old Gaz. You know what? Reading his page today, I was like, this actually sounds... There's a lot of information about Gaz out there. I was like, I actually quite like the idea of an orc army. It's not going to happen, but it was quite fun.
Yeah, they're too cool.
Anyway, so after round 1, who did you write, Jack?
I put Yarrick.
That's just your go-to, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ed, who did you put after round 1?
I put my go-to, which was Creed. I still Creed.
Okay. And round 2, Jack?
I then swapped to Gazgol.
You switched to Glasgow in round 2, and Ed?
I swapped to Yarrick.
You switched to Yarrick.
I was one step ahead the whole time.
That's so annoying. As soon as I found out who it was, I was like,
So, Jack, did you then proceed to
By the
stay?
way, 2 was partly a guess as well.
Yeah,
I thought about it and was like, yeah.
I figured the first mention in Terran records would indicate it wasn't a Terran person. Jack, did you then stay with Gaz the whole way through?
I did, yes.
So you get 2. Okay. Ed, who did you go for guess 3?
I then went Gazgul and then kicked myself.
So you went Gaz for 3 and then stayed with Gaz.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, nice. Yes, I didn't realize because I know nothing about Gaz. Like the first mention of him, he was charging and he got shot in the head by a bolt, and it just he carried on running with like his brain in his hands, kind of thing. And then he got sold by his warlord to the weird Doc Mech, whatever Snick or whatever. Who's the Mech called? Whatever his name is.
Mad Doc Rosnick.
Yeah, that's it. And then he got, he had like all this work done on him and somehow survived and woke up unexpectedly and had visions of greatness. And
I'm not gonna lie. I envisioned if you asked if you did Gazgol for one of these that you'd be going. This character is named after Margaret Thatcher because that's where his name comes from. Gazgol Mag Uruk Thraka.
I knew that too, and I don't know how I know that, and I don't remember.
I did not know that.
Having that information.
So all of my information is gleaned off of the Warhammer Wikipedia.
Yeah, I can't imagine that is on the Wikipedia stuff, but it is supposed to be based off of Margaret Thatcher's name.
That's interesting. Well, there you are. Always learning. Right. Okay. So let's carry on with the PowerPoint. List surgery time. Right, before I forget, I'm going to read out this list, which I didn't write on the PowerPoint, to Jack because he likes demons, and you can get this. So
I'll go to the list.
Yeah, I'll read it to you, and you can read it on Discord. So it's Plague Legion list. Rotigus, Great Unclean One with a Lone Op enhancement. You can give a Great Unclean One Lone Op. That's insane. And another 2 Great Unclean Ones, Scrivener with Canker Blight, Bile Piper, and then 30 Plague Bearers, 2 units of 3 Nurglings, 3 Beasts, 2x5 Hounds, and 1x3 Screamer. He says, do you think dropping a Great Unclean One and some bits for Bellicor and the Changeling might be worth it?
I don't think you have to. I think if anything, I think probably what I want to see is more another unit of Plague Bearers, maybe. I think the rest of it I quite like. It's a surprisingly good list. I think a lot of people really write off Plague Legion as a detachment, but that list can absolutely scam people by just making them take 800 battle shock.
Is that a battle shock one?
Minuses? Yeah. It's surprisingly good. As is the character with I think is Cankerblight the one that causes stuff to die. If so, that definitely wants to be on the Bile Piper, not a Scrivener. Because when you have it on the Bile Piper, you proc it every fight phase, and then you just make them lose more and more units. So more and more models. And that's not a battle shock that they can avoid either by being at full wounds. So you can just, let's say you've got a lone character, and I think the best example, I watched it play World Eaters once, and I watched like 4 units of 8 bound go into this this Plague Legion sort of turtle, and the Cankerblight dude killed at least 2 or 3 models, and then in the following morale phase killed another couple of models. It really, really adds up. And you can take more stuff to cause battle shocks. Maybe you could swap a Guo for Bellicor. That I don't hate, but I think you'd need to find more points for that. which would probably be the Screamers. So yeah, if you wanted to swap a Guo for Be'lakor, that I don't mind. I think the Changeling is probably too many points to try and squeeze in the list for what he actually gives you. Be'lakor gives you a second 18-inch low op aura, so you've got two dudes that give that out. But yeah, my initial inclination is I'd want 10 more Plague Bearers, and if you want to swap a Guo for Be'lakor, I think that's a perfectly reasonable change. And get Canker Blight over to the Bile Piper, or a Bile Piper of some kind.
Lovely. Thank you very much. There you go, Anne. Hopefully that's helpful. Right, anyway, so the people who I actually care about, and wrote on the PowerPoint. So Gravity J here, Space Wolves. Hey Ed, you like Space Wolves?
I'm a Space Wolf guy.
He's gone Saga of the Beast Slayer. Here we go. So we have got, now this is, he's got a list, he's got a tournament in November. Let me just get the Discord message up. So it was a bit more to this for Gravity J. He's trying to practice with in the run up to his first tournament in November. He's not 100% sure on Logan being worth it, if not with some Terminators. So the Wolfguard battle leader is with the Wolfen, the Wolf Priest is with the Head Takers, Arjak with the Terminators, Ragnar with the Blood Claws, and Librarian is with the Intercessors. So our list is Arjak, Bjorn, Librarian, Logan, Ragnar, Wolfguard battle leader, Wolf Priest, 10 Blood Claws, Robosso Executioner, 2x3 Thunderwolf Cavalry, 6 Head Takers, 5 Terminators, and 5 Wolfen. So, first ever tournament, sounds like. Any little tweaks, changes you're thinking?
Yeah, I've got a couple. So, my first gut instinct, which I say this quite a lot on the list doctoring thing, but I'm going to say it again. Like, what's your backfield holder? Like, everything wants to be doing something here, right? Like, there's no intercessors, there's no infiltrators.
Oh, there are 5 intercessors.
This is what happened last time as well.
I swear I wrote that down. What the? I was Gladiator.
I knew you missed something. I was like, there's got to be some sort of. Is there a gladiator as well? Did you say?
There's a Gladiator Valiant. I swear I typed those in.
It's all right.
Okay, well that's weird. I don't know what.
I was thinking this list was missing about 10%, 20% of the list.
Yeah, so the Gladiator Valiant and a Intercessor squad because he wants to put he wants the Librarian with the Intercessors. That's what he was thinking.
Okay, so first of all, so you got backfield objective holder, but putting a Librarian in with some Intercessors is a 145 point investment for a backfield objective holder, where the Librarian probably won't be doing much throughout the game.
Yeah.
So bear that in mind. The screen's gone black, Chris. Bear that in mind when you are going to be using that using it. So you're going to probably have some redundancies that with Librarian sometimes. Also, the 10 Blood Claws. I know it's cost an extra 15 points for the 20 now with the points changes, but in my opinion, that's still worth it. I saw 2 being used by Mark Owen over the weekend, and I played them twice. Both times they were annoying in Saga of the Beast Slayer with the reactive and Blood Surge. Like that as a combination is a headache to get around, especially if you have 2 CP in their turn. So I would consider bumping that 20% up to a 20-man. Covers more space, does more damage, gets 4 rolls to wound, all that good stuff. So that could be a change. You'd probably fit that in by removing some other stuff. Also, head takers are fantastic. They are brilliant in this detachment. They don't get reroll. They don't get any advance in charge in this detachment. You do have a rep X to transport them around, which is good. But what I would recommend is probably splitting them up. Like, unless you need something that needs to go and kill, a big knight or something like that, I'm not sure. But head takers are really the reason why I think they're so valuable is because when they don't have the shields and they have the double weapon instead, they are fantastic for 3-mans. They'll trade pieces. You send them out with with their Wolfguard battle leader, and they kill a bunch of stuff. If the Thunderwolf Cav are fun and they're cool, but just remember they do hit like wet paper. So just remember that when you do decide to take these things. And also, obviously, the main thing is here, it's your first tournament. So you're going to play 5 games in a weekend that you have not played 5 games before. 5 games in a weekend before, unless you have, I'm not sure. But in a sort of setting of a competitive format. So I have changes. That's what I changed. I would say I probably look at removing the Librarian, maybe removing the librarian. Bjorn's good. Repex is good. I'd say probably splitting up the head takers, and then you'd have more trade pieces in that game. But for five Terminators, Arjak and Logan as a combination, they can't go in the same unit together, I don't believe. But if they can, let's say, you're basically paying that much, paying for Logan's Vect and deep striking him down, right? Because obviously Logan doesn't have advanced charge, so he's only moving 6. So, but yeah, the main thing is go and use stuff you know and are comfortable with for your first tournament, dude. That's the main thing, and you're gonna find your own little path of what works and what doesn't. But my main takeaways here is probably getting more trade pieces, because trading is how you win games. If every time you need to kill like a small piece in the middle, you have to send. Because also, I don't know what the Wolfen are armed with. I'm gonna guess the Nam Storm shields.
Wolfen are armed with Death Totem, Thunderhammer, and Storm Shield.
Yeah, Storm Shield, cool. Yeah. So yeah, they're good little pieces as well. I just think you need to have a couple more like trading bits in there. Was what I'd be.
He says he doesn't know if Logan's worth it.
Yeah, so I think I think Logan could go. I think Logan could go, and because how many points is Logan? 100 and something now, 110. Just gonna double check, because I think if you remove the librarian and Logan, I think that frees up quite a few points. In theory, let's have a look. So Logan Grimnar is 110. Librarian is 65, so you've got 175 points. 175 points will get you. Where are you, Wolfguard? Wolfguard takers. That'll get you two more 3-mans of head takers, and that's very good. So I think you basically drop Arjak. Sorry, no, Arjak. I think you drop Logan and you drop the Librarian for 2 more units of head takers, and then the Wolf Priest you could probably drop for another Wolfguard Battle to give that one of those units sustained and make them a really punchy trade piece. Because 6/3 head takers is good. I think that's fine. But having just 1/6 feels like it should be 2 3s. So I think that's what I would look at. But obviously, just try out these different like builds and just try it out. Like obviously, if you've got a plan to, you're probably going to be playing on TTS before that, or playing some games in person before that. Just try it out. Like I think my recommendation would be the first edits would be remove Librarian, remove Logan, add in 2 more 3-man units of head takers, and see how you feel about that. If you feel good about that, then you're probably in a pretty solid position, and then just probably try and find a way to fit in those last 10 blood claws. But that's one of those things I'm not 100% sure how you'd want to do that, or you just want to keep the Ragnar and 10 man just as a little tradie piece. But yeah, that's my take on that one, I think.
Lovely. Slops. He wants to try Tau.
Oh.
He's going Retaliation Cadre. And he's gone for Farsight, Cold Star Commander, Enforcer Commander, 3 units of 1 broadside, 3 Fire Knife, and then a unit basically of 3. So 3 Fire Knife in 1 unit, a unit of Star Scythe, a unit of Sunforge. And he's got 2 Ghost Kills, 10 Crew, 10 Pathfinders, 2 Riptides, and 3x3 Stealth Suits.
Nice. Okay. So yeah, I think my immediate hint towards Retcad is what a lot of people have been leaning, or what a few people are leaning into. Obviously, Montcar is the more popular version right now, but obviously with the points drops, this is also very tempting as well. So I think Cold-Star battle suits are really underrated. So I think you probably want like pushing 2 or 3, because I think they are really, really good. 1 Enforcer Commander is good with the enhancement with the Star Flare. That's good. Like that's fun. That's a nice little piece to use. And then yeah, so I think you're currently looking at. I think you just want more commanders, because commanders are really good value for points for their damage, right? And then that's what you could be using. Then you have 3 times 1 broadside, 3 fire knife suits, 3 star size suits, 3 suns, 4 suits. 2 Riptides. So you've got the Riptides in there. The Riptides are good. I think it all depends on what terrain you're playing on. If you want to lean into the big, like all of the suits for Retcad, it is super good. But small edits for me, I think squeeze another. I think if you think, I think you just want one more unit of suits. That's what I feel like you want. I think you want one more unit of suits to do a job. The 3x3 stealth suits are solid, but I think you might only need 2 to do the guiding bits that you need to do. And then I think that's basically it, right? Have you got any Pathfinders? Yeah, you got some Pathfinders.
Yeah,
Good.
one
Got some
unit.
crew. Good. Hugo skills. Good. Yeah, I mean, it's a solid setup. I mean, if you're going to go Retcad in the current meta, I would recommend having a look at. I was trying to find his list. I think it's Kyle Grundy's list. He's Retcad at LGT. His list is pretty solid. There's edits I would make to that too, but but it's still very very good, and that's a good solid basis. But obviously that's leading into a lot more suits because I think that's where the strength of Retcad really lies. If you're not taking Montcar, but if you're taking this sort of setup, right, it might be worth trying out Montcar, depending how you feel about the detachments. But yeah, have a look. I think either you want to lean into more suits or if you want to keep the more balanced approach, maybe look at one of the more all-encompassing detachments like Montcar or Callion. I think Callion's obviously less strong than Montcar right now, but out of the two, that's probably where I'd be looking.
There you go. Tell me, Ned.
I spent a week reading them, so that's basically my
Yes.
knowledge on that.
Right, Jack, let's hope you know all about Subterranean Assault. You played into it, right? So you should do. So this is John B, big member in our Discord, done all our coaching stuff. Lovely to meet you, John, at the weekend. Have a good chat. So this is his Subterranean Assault list. Let's hope I've not missed anything out. So we've got Broodlord, Neurotyrant, Swarmlord, Trigon, 2 units, a Gargoyles, a Biovore, 2 extra greens, 10 Gene Stealers, Unit 6 Hive Guard with Shot Cannon, 2 Ravener units, and 1 Zone Trope unit. What do you think of this?
My very first thought is there's not enough units to create tunnels. Now, I think maybe there's like a perception that maybe you don't need too many, but I think the issue with having too few is that you give your opponent another way of handling your list, right? If you have like 5 or 6 tunneling units, right, your opponent is not incentivized particularly massively to go after your tunnels that already exist if they're awkward to reach. If you have 3 units that create tunnels and your opponent can find a way of knocking out those tunnels and killing the units making them at the same time, I think the list could really start to suffer in the later turns of a game. I think my other thought is that I feel like at least having a unit of hyper adaptive Raveners, so you can have a big 10-man hammer unit when you need it. You don't always need it. Some games you're like, meh, don't need 10 Raveners in a unit this game. I'll just have the character unit and the separate unit. That's fine. But I feel like just having it as a tool in the toolbox it's mostly for knights, to be honest, right? Subterranean Nids really struggle with knights if they don't have the big hyper adaptive Ravener's brick, just because it's very hard to activate. You need more than 6 hive guard. You need more than 6 1 unit of zone throats to kill a knight on average. So having the Ravener unit that can go in and basically do most of the time does 2/3 minimum of a knight's wounds. So with a little bit of support, they pick it up. Now, where would I get the points for that? I mean, I don't love zone throats, but I understand why people take them. So I would probably cut zones to take some more, like a hyperactive Raveners and some more Raveners, but you could also take the Exocrines out. They don't feel particularly necessary here. In fact, yeah, I'd probably go with taking the Exocrines out first. Take the Exocrines out, get a hyper-adaptive Ravener unit in there, a 3rd unit of Raveners, then you've got plenty enough tunneling units, and then you can spend the remainder of the points on something you like, I guess. I'd probably go with... I think I maybe want another sort of foot infantry unit, maybe like Neurogaunts or some Hormogaunts or something, just to be a cheap trade piece that can go stand on an objective somewhere.
Yeah, I like the 2 10-mans. Greg was using those for a while. It's 2 little 10-man units with Hormigans. Advance and charge, 20 OC, that'll do. So it doesn't have to do anything fancy or excessive. But yeah, I also quite like the zone throats, to be honest. I think they're quite good. I like blast profile. just tearing apart 20-man bricks. So I think that's something that I can see in the current meta. I really like Subterranean Assault though. How did you find the game into it though? Because I was just like,
I think it has issues in the fact that a lot of the Tyranid data sheets maybe feel a little dated now. The rules for detachment are obviously phenomenal, right? Like army wide reroll ones to hit. The tunnel mechanic is excellent. The strats are really good. It's just that unfortunately a lot of the Tyranid data sheets do lag behind a little bit. So it can feel a bit underwhelming sometimes. But when you have the games where it works really well.
nice.
There we go. So those were the lists, and now we've got two Dear Deirdres to whiz through before we analyse the meta. I did tell you it was going to be a longer one today, guys. So first we've got Chazza Watts. Dear Deirdre, my friends will not commit to playing in a tournament. I have a group of friends who got me back into 40k, and despite us playing competitive games on UKTC missions and terrain and playing to win, no fun experimental list, they seemingly do not want to make the leap to a local RTT. How do I convince them to give it a try? Or am I projecting my own wants onto them, and should I focus on finding a more like-minded group? So, Charlie, I've played Charlie, he's been doing coaching and stuff. Chazlar, and he's wanting to get his friends in to play a bit more competitive, but they're reluctant. Do we try and convince those friends? Do we, or just go, you know what? I need new friends. What approach do you think, Ed?
Well, I've got a lot of friends I've got a lot of my friends who don't come to events who all play 40k. I played a local crusade with them. I'd say out of the friends that I had and played Warhammer with since I was a kid, none of them go to tournaments. So I wouldn't like. Ultimately, our community is a big one, and there's plenty of people you can meet, and you'll be making plenty of friends on the way, right? The only person that I knew from a long time ago that played tournaments when I came back was Manny. That's the only person that I knew. So and I didn't really chat to him at the time because I hadn't spoken to him for a few years. So literally, I didn't know anyone when I came into the community, right? So I was just meeting people. I met a few of the lads who we made the Savvy Submarines for a while. Then went off and I did some other bits. Then I went off to Glasshammer. But ultimately, I met a lot of people on that journey. So to be honest, I think what I would recommend is actually not. I wouldn't try and convince people to go when they don't want to go because they're not going to enjoy themselves. And also, those are the sorts of people that if they get done in by like a really competitive, vicious list on someone really good, it'll put them off. And you don't want to do that either. If people have to go when they want to go. My first event was Cardiff. Cardiff, it was not what was it, Cardiff Carnage. It was an event at Cardiff at the same venue that I used to do mine at, run by Tony. And I literally just bought a ticket on the Sunday evening, submitted a list. It's like my first ever tournament, like my Harlequins and Eldar combination. It was terrible at the time. And I just drove there and went to the tournament, stayed in an awful Airbnb, which is someone's back garden. And then came back and that was my first GT. But that's what I think, I'd recommend everyone doing because you meet so many people on the way and I'm still mates with Tony now. So I wouldn't try and convince them to go. I would just focus on you going and you meeting people and you going off and going to the local ITTs, you going off and going to GTs. Because if you just go to events for a couple of years, you'll have, because I meet people, I meet new people who come into the scene every day. Well, I don't every event. Every event there's someone new who comes over, or who either come over and say hello, or I'll meet, or someone who's been going to the scene for years who I've just met. You know what I mean? There's lots of people, and that's the community that we have, available to us. So would I focus on trying to get my mates to go? No. Just try and make mates who are like-minded, who are going to be going to the same local RTTs or who are in the community, because you'll also have a lot more in common with them when you go to the local RTTs. Doesn't mean you need new friends. You can still play local games with them, and you can play competitively with them at the local scene that you go to. But just because they don't want to go to an RTT, it's fine. Just go to an RTT yourself. That's what I would recommend.
Nice. Jack, your thoughts?
I actually have a very similar story, really, to Ed with a lot of my sort of school friends and stuff. They like the hobby, they like Warhammer and stuff, but I think I'm the only one that's really embraced the more competitive side of it. And I spent a while trying to get them to go to tournaments and see if they'd be interested, but no one ever bit. And I think for me, you just have to get out there, right? You just have to meet some new people. In a way, I weirdly feel like if they did agree to come to these events and stuff, maybe I wouldn't sort of expand my social circle in the same way, right? I'd stick with the people that I feel safe and comfortable around, but instead, by going to these events and not actually knowing anyone really, I have met, probably hundreds of people from all over the world who enjoy the hobby, and I think the friendships you make at Warhammer events are just especially great in that, you turn up to an event, you have a chat with them, you find out how their life's going, and then you kind of go away and you
And you
might
do
not
the
see
guy
each other
thing of
for,
not talking to them.
yeah, right. You
goes
don't
in.
see each other for 6 months to a year, and then you see them again, and you find out all these things that have happened in the past year. And you just have to get out there and do it. It's not comfortable for some people. It's quite hard, but ultimately, the best things are never easy to do, right? It's all of was it things worth doing are not easy.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I guess the fundamental underlying thing is like, what about it do their friends not want to? Why do they not want to go? Is it because they're just not competitively minded, and they just? Is it because they're worried about the all the competitive power gamers that you get at these events? But yeah, so finding out the underlying reason is obviously going to be really important. But I suspect you'd have more success if you managed to organize a big group of them to go as well. Like, just be like, yeah, let's just all go a group of 6 to like a 24-player RTT, and we'll pack a quarter of the field, and so that would be the direction you'd probably try to aim. But I think exactly what the guy said as well, like, before I got into 40k, I knew none of the people that I now am friends with, right? It was barring Lee. Lee was the one that kind of got me back or into 40k, and here I am now doing this sort of thing. So you have no idea how easily it can expand just from small beginnings. We've got a bonus, dear Deidre. Dear Auntie, this is from John B.
Go.
I'm a 40k player. Yes, you are, John. And enjoying the constant learning path there is for different phases, tricks, and cool reaction moves or stratagems. But I struggle with simplifying a game plan for a list. So just for frame of reference, John has a bit of a time issue. His brain goes down the route of, I could do all of these things, and then they could all do these things, and then it can lead to a bit of overcomplicating things and running out of time. Recently, I played a game versus an opponent who unfortunately didn't know much about their rules or data sheets, and effectively, it was like playing against a wooden spoon in real life. We had fun and jokes, and I helped him out as much as possible. It was essentially like kicking a puppy for a few hours. It was nice to get the 100, but what it exposed is that even in that situation, I literally needed every single second of my 90-minute clock to play my list. To me, that says it's a list without a plan combined with a too many activations problem rather than anything to do with my opponent. What would you suggest I do next? And why is it triple norm to stand on objectives? So yeah, we've got John here. He plays an army. He's playing Tyranids, as we saw from his list. He's got lots of things that he can do. He's becoming a bit overwhelmed with all of the options. He definitely wants to have a clear plan in place with the army that he plays. So how would we suggest he progresses from here?
Okay. Well, basically clock issues. There's lots of positive and tricks and repetitions that you can do to sort of help yourself out in clock issues. So number one is deploying. Deployment is one of those things where you need to have a very clear and direct view of where things are going. Obviously, these things can change and interact with certain matchups that are going, but you can look at the core concepts. Like if something is trying to shoot me down this lane, where does this go? If something's going to try and shoot me down here, if it can move fast, if it can get to here, go through all these things on TTS, go through all these things that you can, that might happen in deployment, so that you're not sat there thinking about it for ages in deployment. And then on the same concept, first turn movement phase. First turn movement phases are where the clock dies for some people. Some people do it in like 2 minutes. Some people will spend 20 minutes screening. I'm not going to mention any names, but basically some people do it. So if you spend 20, like if you're spending 20 to 25 minutes screening in your first turn, or 20 to 25 minutes asking questions about people's threat ranges and blah blah blah, you just need to have a quick and instant wins. So you're like, okay, cool. What's that threat range? 24. Cool. Measure 24. Stay 24 away, and then you just move the stuff, right? But what you can't do is painstakingly, if you have clock issues, you can't sit there and painstakingly try and go through every potential scenario and expect your clock not to run down. Yes, you basically have to accept at some point that you need to make a decision and roll with it and stick with it. So first turn movement phases, which is what I was getting onto, do that repetitively in TTS. I've once spent like probably like an hour and a half into different armies in front of me. Just on TTS, I've deployed both. I've just done my first two movement phases to both, see where things can hide, see where things can get lines. Having that constant context of information and knowledge before you move your models will make you instantly quicker. Like, so you just need to, if you're struggling on the clock, you need to have all these time saving techniques in your roster for when you go and play games. Next thing is if you're like damage allocation, like you need to, if you need to be quick with damage allocation or figuring it out. Sometimes the maths, you can sit there and work out the maths and that sort of thing, which you do need to do. But if the clock's running down, make decisions, But obviously that doesn't mean that you rush. What I'm saying is if every once in a while when you have the clock in front of you, you keep mindful of it and you keep making sure that you're on top of your turns, you will be okay as long as you don't spend too long doing the things I've just mentioned. So like say for instance, if you're debating split firing, don't spend 5 minutes thinking about where things go, asking people's defensive strats, blah, blah, blah. If you are struggling on the clock, if you're not struggling on the clock and you've got lots of time, totally ask all these questions, totally get all the context. But if your goal is to finish the game and not have these issues, you're going to need to make decisions a little bit snappier, because that's where people clock out. People will see that they've got 5 minutes left and sit there and still painstakingly make those decisions. When I have 5 minutes left on the clock, I'm rolling dice at people. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, I'm going to try and go, I'm going to shoot this into this. I'm going to roll the dice and hand you saves, all that sort of thing. Now, obviously, if that's only when you're getting hard, when you're playing on the hard clock rules, if you are, and if you are like both really tight on time. Obviously, if I'm on 20 minutes of my, if I'm on 10 minutes, my opponent's on 2, and we can finish the game in 12 minutes, we'll split it. It's fine, no issues. But that's the general approach. But obviously, just do these positive things that will do these things that will, cut time out of your game. Which basically having knowledge before you make decisions will make your decisions quicker, because you don't have to go and find out that information. Like, what's the line down here? Obviously, you can then go, I know there's a line down here. I'm going to stay out of it on this line by moving here, and then you move because you already know that line is there because you have deployed it on TTS 1,000 times. Mm-hmm. So that would be my approach there.
Nice. Anything to add, Jack?
I think it's a very simple phrase. No perfect game of Warhammer has ever been played.
Mm-hmm.
You will lose far more games by running out of time than you will by making the odd bad choice here and there, because you're trying to speed up your decision making. If you sit there and try and account for every single thing that could ever happen in a game of Warhammer, you will never finish your game. Mm-hmm. And you'll lose because you run out of time. It is far more likely that you lose the game because you're rushing at the end because you're low on time than if you made a couple of bad choices in turns 1 and 2. Like, the odd bad choice here and there is okay. No one's played a perfect game. Yeah. And I think other than what Ed said, I think that's pretty much my summary of it.
For sure.
There you go. Right. Wow. That was that. But we said we would dedicate a little bit of time just to talking about the LGT meta, looking at the event. So here we have got the standings as we stand. I was going to refresh this. And we can just talk about kind of how it has shaped up. So our top cut 16, we have got Emperor's Children. Boris is currently sat in first place. We've then got Liam VSL in second place. Then got Sacco in third place and Inez in fourth. So got 4 different factions there, nice. And then the top 8 also had Chris Lantern on Demons, Ed's favourite Necrons in 6th. More Marines on 7th. David Gaylard in 8th. So Black Templars. And then if we split into the other people, we had Emperor's Children, Tau, Ben Jones on Eldari, Chaos Knights, Jay on Dark Angels, Brian on Orcs. And then these were also some undefeated players. So Chaos Knights, they went undefeated. Nas on Raven Guard undefeated. Blood Angels. Sisters getting up there as an undefeated player. More Jakari from Paulie. Kyle with his Tau undefeated. Death Guard undefeated. Our very own. Doesn't that look beautiful? Dark Angels undefeated. Admech undefeated, managed to make it there. More Admech. Some Custodes stuck in there, and some Votan, some Imperial Knights, more Custodes, and then you can scroll down here. There's start getting to the draws and stuff. So, guys, that looks pretty varied to me. There is one notable thing there for me as well. The most represented faction at this whole event was World Eaters. There are no World Eaters in that section. Why do we think that is?
They got shot. They got shot so much. They got shot so much by every faction that they tried to play against. I think the most common game that not most common, but a common game that I kept seeing was an army with long range, violent shooting, moving onto a line that then shot the World Eaters dead. That's what I saw that happen a fair few times over the weekend, and I heard many stories of Tau doing it, Chaos Knights doing it, Imperial Knights doing it, etc. And because these boards are horrendous, they're horrendous. Like, it's just, yeah, they're just shooting galleries. They love their shooting at UKTC, which is fair, but like, it leads to World Eaters, and they are ridiculously strong. That's not changed. It's just on these boards.
You can see here 44th, 47, 48. Sam in chat, top World Eaters, well done, buddy. So you can see they've.
Hi, Sam. Sam's now mentioning in the chat. He's like, "Hey, stop looking at me." I can't stop looking at you, mate. It's because you went 4-1. It's really impressive with World Eaters, right? It's fine.
There's another 4-1 there. So yeah, they seem to be in hands of a good player, like a
no, yeah. And the thing is, in hands of a good player, you've seen them go 4-1. I don't think any hit the 5-0, right? By memory.
No.
So none of them hit 5-0. And there was lots of 4-1s, but I think that's just because they hit like a player which have have an army that can shoot down those lanes and have enough skill to back it up. Like one of the common games that I saw was Will B and Sam. I didn't want to mention Sam, but he piped up in the chat, so now I will. So he played Will, and I'm pretty sure Riptide just stood on a line and shot him. And that's kind of where that went. Or they can sit at the very edges of the board, pick you apart, and then and that was kind of where it is. Oh, so Sam played 3 Mount Montcar and a Warpbane, but I think he got taken out by Will in the end.
Which is Montcar, right?
Which is Montcar, yeah. So I think basically that's where you'll see. I think there was another mention in the chat saying that I think the exact same thing. Like World Eaters is most represented, but where are they in the top cut? They all got butchered, and they really did. And it's just because I think UKTC, they truly suffer. I think in the current, look at it this way. Look at the top 4 lists, right? Top 4 lists that you've got Boris has got Emperor's Children, can play World Eaters. Liam CSM has played World Eaters and butchers World Eaters. Not butchers them, but has a good game into them, right? And then Sacco's Jakari. Jakari has a lot of stuff that can kill Marine bodies and fight first units that can rip them apart. I mean, yes, they can die to the fight first, have the fight on death, but he can play that game, and Sacco's also a very good player, and he can play against them, especially on these boards where we can shoot them for a few turns with very fast shooting and all that lovely stuff. Then Innis can just demolish them, I think, right? Because he's got the Storm Raven that can just drop off Redemptor and kill lots of stuff. He's got Calgar and Gulliman, just lots of lots of just insane damage pieces that can take them out. Just looking at the top 4, right?
Yeah.
And those 4 could all play World Eaters and probably did throughout their run, right? And there's lots of World Eaters players. I can't imagine none of them played World Eaters. I'm pretty sure Boris did play World Eaters, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But and they all dealt with them relatively handily, just because, and not just because of these boards, because their army's also designed to play against them as well. Because obviously they've had that in mind, thinking the World Eaters will be here, right? But the boards certainly don't help. I think that's going to be one of the common issues you're going to see with Worldies on UKTC until they fix the boards. Because, Liam played Worldies round 5. There you go. So, yeah, I think it's just one of those things that, that's probably why. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So, Jack, thoughts on the top meta then at LGT? Is it board centered? Is it just how our meta is sat at the moment? What do you think?
I actually think there's a lot of UKTC symptoms here. Having a look through the top. I'll be honest, you can really go all the way down to sort of like, there's this top 30 where all of these lists are either shooting armies or hybrid shooting melee armies.
Yeah.
Even Brian with Orcs in, 14th has got 25 flash kits in his list. And if you look at the rest of those armies, right, without even looking at the list, there's very few armies there that I would call pure melee, right? Like the Borgia with Blood Angels, looking at that, he's got 2 Bile Predators in the list and 2 Vindicators. There's just no armies at the minute that are pure melee that seem to be doing well in UKTC. And I don't think you have to be particularly genius to work out why that is. You have to have some form of guns to work on UKTC, otherwise your opponent will outrange you. And there will be units you don't get to interact with. And I think the overall meta, I actually think, is a bit more combat friendly than this suggests. I think the moment you take this off UKTC terrain, I think you see a much bigger element of melee armies. You'll see a lot more Orcs with no guns, World Eaters with no guns. Like I said, I think looking at this top 30 players, there's very much a everyone needs to have guns symptom of UKTC showing.
Classic. Okay, well, my final question for you. Here we are. We are round 9. We are in the semi-finals. We have Innes Wilson versus Sacco, and we have Boris and Liam. First question, Ed, who's winning out of Innes and Sacco?
Oh, this is tough. So, Sacco has Dark Drakari, which can kill tanks, right? So, famously, that's fine. But also, Innes has 3 Redemptors and a Storm Raven. So, the Storm Raven can fly over and kill a bunch of shit, which is what we don't like as elves in general. Generally speaking, Innes's approach to this, not maybe not with Drakari specifically, but with elves in general, was that they have to overcommit to kill the Storm Raven, then table them because they kill everything that they had anti-tank. Now, I think the difference here is the fact that the Scourge will all fire and fade. They'll all fire and fade. They'll all hide. You can move block areas where the Storm Raven is going to land. And it's going to be really hard for. I think it's going to be hard for Innes to push that. Do the same things that he has done in the rounds previous, is what I mean, right?
Yeah.
But I could be wrong. I think it's going to be close either way. I think it might be one of those things where it's like a tight game either way, that whoever goes second, because obviously if Innes goes second, he can turtle and just aim for that small win. If Saka goes second, he can do the same thing. So one of those is going to be on someone to make a decision. It's going to be on someone to make something happen, and whoever makes something happen that doesn't go wrong for is probably going to lose. That's probably what's going to happen. But I would like to say that Innes' Space Marines will have the edge because of the Storm Raven.
Cool. So Innes wins that game, right? Ed has said it. Innes wins that game. Jack, who wins out of Boris and Liam?
I mean, I've watched Liam play that matchup in the Invitational and against Josh P, who is a pretty solid player. And I think Liam absolutely bummed him. So I think my vote has got to be for Liam, basically. I love Boris. But I think Liam knows this matchup quite well and is very well prepped for it. So I guess we'll see how that goes. But
Okay, so Liam versus Innes in the final. Who wins?
It's tough. I think I'd like to say with the 3 Redemptors at -1 damage, would give Innes a good chance because he's got the Storm Raven with -1 damage as well. But that Chosen Brick I've seen, it's also the Chosen Brick is Warp Talons. I've just seen them do absolute, war crimes on camera. I don't know. So I just don't know. I just do not know. Jack might have a better insight there.
I think Innes's list is probably favoured.
Yeah.
I think so it's not just the issues in that killing Innes's stuff is quite hard. Innes's stuff I think has the greater threat range as well. When you include how far the Storm Raven can go, drop something off, which I think leaves Liam in a bit of a tough spot where he's like, well, I can't reach him efficiently and I can't kill him efficiently. So I suspect if that matchup does happen, we'll see Liam go all in immediately, and I'm sure he'll somehow still pull off Liam things and maybe win the matchup. But I think based off lists, I would like to think Innes's list is better out of the two. But we've all seen Liam do crazy things, and a part of me has this feeling that the world is setting us up for the three-peat for Liam.
So there we are, guys. We don't know is the answer, but it seems like Innes Wilson is going to be winning the LGT, which is very exciting news. Congratulations, Innes, and commiserations, Liam, for getting so close to the three-peat. That's you've heard it here first, guys, before it's even happened. And on that bombshell, we will say, have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.